Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. In this episode, I'm going to give you a couple of financial tips that I have applied throughout the years that have helped me be a little bit more free in my financial status. And so I want to share those with you guys because I think it's really important. So let's actually take a look at those. Now, the first one is going to be, and these are not in particular order, the first one is going to be a budget, creating a budget. Now, I made a video a couple of weeks ago about how I go and do that, but that's going to be something that's going to look different for everybody, but I think that will be the first thing. And if you're going to check that out, you can check it out on my playlist, but pretty much is you want to be able to create a budget because that's going to tell you where your money is going. And if you don't know where your money is going, monthly or weekly, however you do it, it's going to be really hard to see the areas that you can change in order for you to achieve, those financial goals. So creating a budget is probably one of the most important things that you can do. Now, you can do this in many different ways. You can use an app, you can use an Excel sheet, you can use both, however the case may be. But I think it's very important to have that in writing and visible in order for you to be able to know where that money is going. The second tip is going to be live under your means. And what that means is whatever, when you create your budget, whatever money you put in as an income for your household, you can't spend more than that, right? So let's say, for example, that you income net after taxes, and let's say, for example, that it's $5,000, that you have to be able to spend less. So whatever the difference is between those two numbers, you can use. You're in a stage where you're investing or paying off your debt or anything like that. The bigger the difference that you can make in that number, the faster and the more money you're going to have left over during the month that you can use for those things. So living under your means is very, very, very important. The next tip, which is going to help you with that as well, is increasing your income. Now, this could be taken in many different ways, but I want to give you 4 ways that you can do this, right? The first one is going to be change jobs. This is going to be probably the most difficult one because sometimes, a lot of the times, it's harder to find a new job, but also it's also difficult when you're already in a good job where you actually like what you're doing, the people you're working with, the company and all that. And, it's really hard to make that decision for the sake of earning more money, right? I know a lot of artists that have the potential and skill to earn a lot more money because they have the skills, but they're not in a place where they want to take that jump just because they really love where they are, and that's totally fine. You have to make that decision, which one. And this is probably one of the most difficult decisions out of these 4 ways that you can increase your income. In my personal experience, it has been true that every time I change jobs, my increase in pay has increased quite a good margin. Especially in this industry, I think is very common that happens. Second way is finding other sources of income. Now, this could take place as, doing freelance, maybe finding some side hustles that you can monetize with your, whatever hobbies that you may have. For example, I follow a lot of people on YouTube that, they go thrifting for furniture on the weekend, so during the week. And on the weekend, they spend the 1 day or 2 days on the weekend to restore the old furniture because they have those skills, and they resell the furniture for, double or triple the price that they got it. And so that way they can make an extra little income on the side during the weekends. And so this is sort of like a short sacrifice for long-term freedom. And so these are the things that, for example, when I was trying to be debt free, I took every single job that I had that I was able to, and I didn't go out. I spent a lot of money, and I was just working, trying to make as much money as I could just so I could pay off all my debt. But we can talk about that a little bit later. Now, the third way that you can do this is reducing your cost, and what that means pretty much is when you create your budget, that money that you're spending, trying to find ways and places where you can cut the cost. That way, the difference between your cost and your income is bigger, and you have more money left over in the month that you can use for your financial goals. Now, the 4th way and last one is going to be do not go up in lifestyle. And what that means is that I'll give you an example. When I had a pretty good income that I could survive on, let's say it was $50,000 a year, it was enough for me and my wife to survive. We had everything taken care of. We had a place to stay, food, all the bills were being paid. We had a little bit of money left over just to save. Every time I earned money after those 50,000, I didn't go and say, okay, if I earn $5,000 extra that month, I didn't say, oh, let's go on a trip and spend all this $5,000 on this trip, or buy a piece of jewelry, or buy something that I really didn't need or anything like that. I will use those extra dollars to put onto my debt, or to invest on something else, or to, you know, invest on acquiring new skills. So I didn't go up in lifestyle when I started earning more money. I kept the same lifestyle. And if I went up to 100, imagine if you're earning $50,000 and you go up to $100,000, but you kept your lifestyle at 50, then you have $50,000 that you could use for, you know, whatever your goals are. And so I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that people do, that when they get that extra money, they get really excited and they say, oh, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to buy that, I'm going to spend it on this and that. And they pretty much go back to zero and neutral, and then they got to start again to try to get that money back. And that doesn't mean that you won't do that ever. But you, at least to me, in my case, I wanted to be debt free before I could go up in lifestyle. And so that's sort of what I did. Now, the fourth tip is going to be use cash. We're in an age where everything you can pay with a credit card. That's super easy. But there are studies that show that you actually spend more than you should when you're using a credit card. So when you're using cash, when you have the cash in your hand, it's really hard to part ways with that money because you actually see it. I think it's a good way to keep your costs down if you use cash. The other way is that in my case, everything that I want to buy, so let's say, for example, if I want to buy a piece of furniture, books, whatever the case may be that I want to buy, I want to make sure that I have the cash for it, that I'm not using any credit cards, I'm not using any borrow money or anything like that. I'm actually have the cash to actually pay cash for it. We're going to be needing a new car pretty soon, maybe in the next year or so. And so I'm saving money to buy the car that we need completely cash, right? Whether that means that it's $20,000 or 15, whatever the case may be, you know, I want to save that money, and I'm not going to buy that car till I get the money completely cash, because I don't want to add to my cost monthly. That mitigates the risk of having more debt and all that. So using cash is a pretty good strategy to keep your costs down. The fifth tip is going to be clear. This is pretty self-explanatory, but I think a lot of people are not really clear on what they want financially exactly. Like people say, I want to have more money. Well, here's $5. There you go. That you have more money. So, you know, being clear about what your goals are, like specifically, is really powerful in any aspect of life, right? Whether it's your job or money or whatever. You have to be pretty clear of what your goals are, put them in priority. That's sort of what I do, and then tackle them one by one. The last one is going to be debt free. I already talked about this, be debt free. You know, I've mentioned this before, but me and my wife, we paid around $130,000 in debt. And I'm going to show you how was that broken down in what the items were here on the screen somewhere. But we paid this in about 3 years, and the way we did this is with these tips that I just gave you. You know, we created a budget. We live under our means. I was always looking for extra income on the side to try pay these off as fast as possible. Right? It was really, really intense. And I also use a method called the snowball effect by Dave Ramsey. You can check that out. But it really helped us to get our gears right and get this done as fast as possible. You know, being debt free was one of our goals, clear goal that we wanted, and so we sort of tackle it this way. All right, guys. So those are my tips for you. These are pretty general. So I think anybody could apply this to whatever industry they're in. But I think it's very important to start with the very basics first and then go with the very specific. Now, everybody has a different situation. So, you have to take a look at that and see how you can apply this. But I think these are the more general things that I could share financially that I have done personally, and that have helped me be a little bit more free in my financial journey. And so I really hope that helps you in any way. If you have any questions about it, please let me know. I am pretty open with this topic, so feel free to ask me anything, and hopefully these were of any help to you guys. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video.